Shalom, and welcome to Parsha Highlights and Insights. This is Rabbi Fischer. This week's Parsha is Naso, the second Parsha in the book of Bamidbar. I should point out that it is Parashat Naso in Israel, but not in Chutz La'aretz, not outside of Israel this week. I shall explain. This week, Shavuot is on Friday, and Shabbat is the day after. Now, outside of Israel, that Shabbat is the second day of Shavuot, and it has its own special Torah reading. And so, outside of Israel, Naso won't be read until the following Shabbat. However, in Israel, where Shavuot is one day, as it is written in the Torah, so Friday is Shavuot, and the day after Shabbat is just a regular Shabbat. And that has an effect on the Torah reading. So we read the next Torah portion, which in this case is Naso. Another thing to say about Naso as an introduction is that it's a very long parasha. It actually has the highest number of psukim of any one parasha, which is 176. But let us proceed. Naso has 8 parts to it. The first part is a continuation of the census of the tribe of Levi. We had a little bit of that before in Parshat Bamidbar, but now we continue with the responsibilities of Gershon, the Gershon division of Levi, their responsibility being curtains and hangings, and then Merari, their responsibilities being to carry the boards, the bars, the pillars, and then we proceed to the actual census. The count of Kahat, which is 2,750, count of Gershon, 2,630, and the count of Merari, 3,200, for a total of 8,580. I should point out that this is a count not similar to the count that we had in Bamidbar. There we were counting tribe of Levi from the age of 1 month. Here we're talking about who is available to serve, and that is from the age of 30 to 50. The next section of the parasha deals with preparing the camp for its setup, and that includes where the Mishkan is supposed to be, as well as uh, the other camps all around. So in order to prepare for this, it is necessary, says the Torah, to expel from the main camp, from the camps, those people who are tameh. And there are 3 kinds of tumah that is discussed here. Someone who has tzara'at is expelled from all of the camps, that is to say, not only from the area of the Mishkan and the area of the tribe of Levi, but even from the tribes surrounding, from all 3 camps. A Zav, someone who has a discharge, only from 2 camps, that is where the Mishkan is, as well as where the tribe of Levi is. And someone who's come in contact with the dead is expelled from 1 camp, only the area of the Mishkan. So you see that we're setting up the camp, and we're anticipating the ultimate move from Har Sinai, which is where they are, to move in the direction towards Israel. As we continue in the parasha, we learn a certain mitzvot that maybe what they have in common is to address problems within the society, but 3 mitzvot in particular. One has to do with different types of theft. One is a theft that involves a breach of trust, breach of faith, in which someone has sworn that they watched something properly, but in fact they stole it, and then they must confess. They have to pay back what they have stolen, plus they have to add a fifth what the Torah calls a fifth. It's really a fifth on the outside, not a fifth of the principal, and that actually turns out to be 25% of the principal. And also they have to bring a special korban, a guilt offering, called an asham. Uh, the Another type of theft is that the Torah addresses here is the theft of a uh, a convert who dies without any heirs. What goes to that person uh, if there's no one to inherit? So that money that has been stolen, when it is recovered, it is given to the Kohen. And then the Torah talks about the other entitlements of the Kohen, such as the first fruit, etc. The next mitzvah that the Torah deals with at great length is the sotah, namely a woman who has been straying, who has been misbehaving, and is suspected by her husband of infidelity, but there is no proof. And so the Torah talks about how he must warn her formally, that is to say, in the presence of witnesses. And then she is witnessed going into a secluded place, but she maintains her innocence of adultery, and there are no witnesses. So she must bring a certain offering. It has to do with jealousy or warning. It is made of barley with no oil or incense. Water is taken from the kiyol, from the receptacle that contains the water that the Kohanim use to wash their hands and feet. That water is placed in an earthenware vessel. Dust from the floor of the Mishkan is placed into this water. The woman is shamed into possibly confessing if she wants, if she actually is guilty. Her hair is undone. She's made to take an oath, and she's warned. The whole section is written down and then dissolved into the water. The sacrifice is offered, and then she must drink. And the drinking of this potion will demonstrate her guilt or innocence. If she's guilty, she will suffer. If she's innocent, then she will be blessed. She will even be blessed uh, with the conception of a child. The next part of the parasha deals with a person who is a nazir. This is a person who has taken an oath of abstention. Uh, it could be a man or a woman. The oath of abstention can last for a very long time. The minimum amount of time we learn is 30 days. And a person who takes such an oath and makes a commitment to be a Nazir has certain restrictions. One restriction is wine and any other grape byproducts, whether it's raisins or vinegar or the like. Nazir also does not shave. That means doesn't cut his hair at all. And he's also not permitted to become defiled to the dead. If a person unintentionally, Nazir, became unintentionally defiled, then he has to wait for 7 days. He has to shave. He has to bring two sacrifices of doves or pigeons, one of a chatat and one of an olah. He also brings a sheep as an asham, as a guilt offering. And whatever first days he had do not count. You have to start the count again. So if he said he was going to be a Nazir for 30 days, the 30 days and resume from the beginning. If, however, this doesn't happen and he comes to the end of his Nazir period, so he has certain sacrifices to bring. He brings a male lamb as an olah, a female lamb as a chatat, and also a ram as shlamim. He has to bring matzot. He shaves and he throws the hair that he shaves off into the fire that is cooking the shlamim. And he also waves the korbanot, and then he uh, resumes regular life as everybody else. The next section of the parasha should be familiar to us because it's the blessings of the Kohanim. You must say to them what the blessings are, and these are familiar to us because they are part of our prayers, and they're also part of uh, the responsibilities of Kohanim to say these blessings, Yivarechecha Hashem Yishmerecha, etc. And of course, we're reminded that the Kohanim say the blessings and they are asking Hashem for the blessing, but it is Hashem who gives the blessing. The next section of the parasha, which is actually what makes the parasha so, one of the things that makes it so very long, are the gifts that the Nesiim, that the different princes, the heads of the various tribes, offered when the Mishkan was being finished, to be set up. The Nesiim give gifts of 6 wagons and 12 oxen to pull those wagons. And the division of the wagons and the oxen is that 2 wagons and 4 oxen are given for Gershon. Remember, they transport the curtains and the hangings. 4 wagons and 8 oxen for Merari. They transport the heaviest things, the bars and the poles and the pillars. And Kahat gets no wagons because the things that they are supposed to transport, they must transport by their on their shoulders. That's the Aron and the menorah and so on. Then we proceed to tell that each one of the Nesiim brought an offering, and as it turns out, every single one of them brought the identical offering. That is a silver bowl, a silver jug, both of which filled with fine flour and oil, a gold spoon filled with incense, a bull, a ram, and a lamb as olah, a goat as a chatat, as a sin offering, and then shlamim, peace offerings, 2 bulls, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs. And the Torah tells about this in the order of their encampment and their travel. That is to say, Yehuda, Issachar, Zebulun, Ruvain, Shimon, and Gad, Ephraim, Menashe, Binyamin, Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. And then the Torah tells us the totals of all of these offerings that the Nesiim, that the princes bring. At the very end of the parasha, we're told that when Moshe would come to the Ohel Moed, would come to the tent of meeting in order to hear what Hashem has to teach, he would hear the voice of Hashem emanating from the Ohel Moed, from the place above the kaporet. That brings us to the end of the parasha. Let's talk about that, however, a little bit more, because it is the end of the parasha. It says that when Moshe went into the tent to speak, he heard the voice, heard the sound of Hashem, and the word is middaber elav. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. From upon the kaporet, that's the covering of the Aron, and Hashem spoke to him. So Rashi analyzes this, and he points out that we have this verse here, but we have another verse that seems to say something different. And he points out that when you have 2 verses that seem to say different things, a third verse can be brought in to resolve the problem. At the beginning of Vayikra, we're told that Hashem spoke to Moshe from outside, and Moshe was called, and Moshe was outside of the Mishkan. And yet it also says in Shemot that Hashem speaks to Moshe from the top of the kaporet. So it sounds like the voice of Hashem emanates either from the entrance to the Ohel Moed or from within from atop the Aron. Our verse, however, at the end of Parshat Naso, resolves this apparent contradiction, as Rashi explains, that the voice does issue from heaven. It emerges in the space between the 2 keruvim, and from there it fills the tent of meeting, where it is heard by Moshe. Uh, and Rashi further says that he heard the voice. "Vayidaber elav." Why does the Torah say this? Because you might think that since nobody heard it outside of the Mishkan, that it's maybe a very quiet voice. Well, the fact is, he heard the voice, says Rashi, and it's the same voice that was heard at Sinai. So it had the same volume as at Sinai, but miraculously, the voice filled the Ohel Moed, but stopped at the entrance. So it confined itself to the interior of the Ohel Moed. On the word midaber, Rashi points out that this is not the typical midaber, which means speaking, but midaber, and grammatically, that is something called the hitpael, the reflexive. Uh, but it would be difficult to say mitdaber, so it's middaber with a dot, a dagesh in the dalet. The point is that this word doesn't mean speaking, it means speaking to himself. Because what Hashem was doing, Hashem was, as it were, speaking to himself, but Moshe was pro provided with the opportunity to hear that voice of Hashem, who was Hashem speaking to himself. And not only that, but not only was Hashem speaking to himself, but he was simultaneously speaking to Moshe. And only to Moshe, as Rashi concludes, only to Moshe and not to anybody else, not even Aharon, heard this divine communication. I thank you all for joining me for this exploration of Parashat Naso. This has been Rabbi Abraham Fischer for Parasha Highlights and Insights, saying Shalom.